So you just landed your first big job at a high school, college, trade school, whatever it might be. Maybe you're making 50, 60, 70, $80,000, maybe even more. You're hyped, right? You're planning vacations, trips with your friends, first car purchase, fresh new apartment, all new gear, new phone. And then boom, your first paycheck hits. And you're like, wait, what? What, the FICA? Where'd all my freaking money go? So we're going to be going over the rude, real, and frustrating reality of collecting a paycheck and navigating a paycheck together. What's up, guys? It's Mike at Ledgerly, back at it again, giving you the latest and greatest tax topics, frequently asked questions alongside my partner, Andrew, also a CPA. Today, we're going to be navigating your paycheck. I know my first job out of college, I was obviously an accounting major, so I knew what FICA, benefits, all these deductions were to some extent. But for all of you fresh into the job force, you have no clue what's going on. So that's why we're here, to try and help you navigate this. So if you love hearing about these topics, whether it's the glass half full or the glass is empty, hit that subscribe button and welcome to the Ledgerly family. Okay, let's get to it. Here's the salary myth. And this is what no one tells you in high school, college, nothing. Your salary is not your take-home pay. Your $100,000 salary, you're not getting $100,000. The offer letter might say your annual salary or your gross salary is $100,000, but that's before taxes, benefits, deductions, any of that net cash gets taken out. So let's break down the numbers. Let's get down to the business. We got ADP up. ADP has a nice calculator on their website that you can go in and look at your net take-home pay. So to make it easy, let's do it on monthly. Let's say you're going to get paid once a month, just so we can straight line it over 12 months instead of weekly, bi-weekly. You're getting paid monthly. Let's say you're on a salary per year. And let's say, for simplicity, you're making $100,000 per year. Now look at this. The take home, we're already factoring in the federal income tax, the Social Security and Medicare tax, your FICA. Now, once we have all these line items, we're going to go line by line in what you might be getting back, what you're paying in to get advantage for later, what you're getting a tax deduction for, what you're not getting a tax deduction for. So let's say you don't have any overtime. Cool. So you're making $100,000 per year. Federal taxes. Let's say you're a married individual or a single individual. Let's do single for now. Let's say you're fresh out of college. You might be married. I don't know. I got married at 26, 27. I should probably know that. Lori, if you're watching this, don't be mad at me. Okay, so let's say you're single. You don't have any other dependent amounts. You got to pay federal income tax. You're not exempt from Social Security or Medicare tax. Maybe you're working on the railroad, your first job. That would be awesome. But okay, so you got federal income tax. Now let's go to state. Now, we live in Connecticut, but you might be fortunate enough to live in Florida. So we live in Connecticut. No, let's not do a 7% rate. Let's say you're single and your code is, I'm pretty sure it's F for single individuals making over, I think it's like 25,000 or 15,000. Let's say no additional withholding amounts. You're not exempt from withholdings. You're not exempt from the paid family leave. You have to pay into that later. Okay. Now, how about benefits? Let's say your employer-sponsored medical is, call it $500 a month. And let's say you're paying $25 a week for dental. And then vision, maybe $50 a month. How about an HSA? We love the HSA. I'm pretty sure for 2025, for a single individual, the max is $4,300 for the year. So let's say you're doing, we're just going to round this up. Let's call it $360 per month. Oops. $360 per month for the HSA. Cool. How about retirement? Let's do 5% in a traditional 401k. And then let's see if they have the Roth option here too. Yeah, they do. Look at this, Roth 401k. Now let's do another 5% because we want to show the tax deduction side and the side that you're going to pay tax on. All right, so here's our paycheck. We have our gross earnings of $8,333, and our take-home pay is $4,600. So let's go to the whiteboard and break this down even further. All right, so we got our monthly pay stub here, but let's dissect it one layer further. So our monthly earnings here equates to an annual salary of $100,000. Now, of course, like we said at the top of this video, we ain't seeing all of this, right? But what here are we getting a tax deduction for, or are we benefiting from? So let's go line by line. So we have our taxes here. Now the taxes are made up of your federal income tax, your Social Security, your Medicare, your state income tax, all of that stuff. So this first line, our federal income tax, this is currently being withheld at about 9.5% of your gross salary. So if we take that $799 and multiply it by 12, we're roughly having $9,500 withheld. Now, we know, I'm just going to talk quick and dirty numbers here. The marginal tax bracket on this is going to be 22%. However, the effective rate, because it's a sliding scale, 0 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to 22%, he's not going to pay everything at 22%, but he's most likely going to owe, or she. They're going to most likely owe on this 9.5. So when they go to file their tax return at the end of the year, instead of getting a refund, they're most likely going to owe. But federal means they're either going to get a refund, they're either going to owe, or they might break even. Cool. So federal income tax, you might get back, you might owe. However, Social Security Medicare, Social Security, 6.2%. Medicare, 1.45%. Equals 7.65%. That's your FICA. What, the FICA? This is the mandatory payroll tax. Now you pay into this system. You might get a benefit later when you go on Social Security and Medicare, once you retire, once you hit the age of 65, once you're eligible to collect on those benefits. But for the time being, you're putting away 7.65% that you ain't going to see until you retire. What the FICA? That's why when you're a business owner, we convert you to an S Corp, so you limit the amount that you pay into FICA. We don't like FICA. FICA bad. FICA no good. Cool. Now, Connecticut state income tax. Same as federal. We might be seeing a benefit when we file our tax return here. So for the sake of this, he's withholding $324. He's roughly withholding however, on $100,000, he or she might be falling into the 5% tax bracket. So again, they might refund, owe, or even break even, okay? But there might be some benefit that they might get back or they might owe. We won't know until we file the tax return, and I ain't doing that weighted average calculation right now. Okay, the Connecticut paid family leave. All right, you're not getting a benefit for that right now. However, if you have to go on medical leave or maternity leave, this money that you're paying in will get paid out to you, either in place of your salary or on top of your salary, depending on what your benefits are. So this is a future benefit. Okay, now speaking of benefits, how about these benefits down here? Your medical, your dental, your vision, your insurance. Yes, it's a benefit, but you are getting no tax deduction. You're not getting a tax deduction for that. The HSA, you are getting a tax deduction for. These are monies that you're putting into a bucket for medical purposes. Putting the money in gets you that tax deduction. Taking the money out is tax-free as long as it's used for medical purposes or to reimburse medical purposes. In the 401k, the traditional 401k, this one right here is a tax deduction, kind of like the HSA. The money that you put in, tax deduction. The money you take out later when you retire, you have to pay tax on the interest, principal, everything that it grew on. You're going to pay income tax on that. Now, on the flip side of the coin, the Roth 401k, no tax deduction. We love Roth at Ledgerly. I'm going to put a heart here. We love it. It kind of looks like a heart. We heart Roth. Why do we love Roth? When you put the money in, there's no tax deduction. Now, let's take a step back. You're making $100,000 here, okay? When you get older, you're most likely going to make more. So when you start pulling out on Roth, it's tax-free. So you're not getting a tax deduction when you put it in this year, but when you take it out later and you retire, tax-free. Everything's tax-free. We freaking love Roth. Okay, let's take a step back. This is a lot to absorb, especially as someone new out in the job force. But listen, your paycheck doesn't just show how much you made. It doesn't just show that top line. It tells a story of how your money's being used. Is it a tax benefit right now? Is it a tax benefit later? Is it a tax deduction? Is it non-tax deduction? Are you paying into something you might never see again, like FICA? But knowing how to read it, now that is the key. So next time you see FICA on your paycheck, don't panic. You're not being scammed. You're being taxed. Welcome to America. Welcome to adulthood. So I hope this was beneficial for especially you new people out in the job force, you college grads, you high school grads, you kids out in a train, or you're just wheeling and dealing and want to pick up more job shifts. We love that. That's why you're here. You want to understand. So if you want to take your finances to the next level and do something to offset your W-2 and offset some of these taxes in your W-2, that's where we thrive here at Ledgerly. That's where we create that value with strategic tax planning to offset that FICA. That FICA can go FICA itself. Get it out of here. We want to eliminate that for you and start taking advantage of all those other tremendous benefits that you're going to get a benefit for now or in the future. So keep on grinding, and we'll talk to you guys soon.